I used to think being a deep thinker was like a good good habit to have, like the habit of deep thinking, to like process your thoughts, was like a good and useful thing to do. But I think I'm kind of think I think I'm kind of realizing now that thought without action is kind of like pointless and meaningless. And the thoughts we can create in our mind are it's not even like somehow we've created these thoughts in our mind that are not even based in reality, and there's no like solution to them. So then we just are stuck in these vicious thought cycles and can never get out of them. So that's why I started. Well, I didn't really study. It's just kind of like things that I've come to realize. I will like I've just broken it down logically in my mind, and just kind of I'm going to summarize why I think we think, and it's kind of based off what other people say too. So it's not my own thoughts, because I don't think anyone's thought is actually that like is actually original. It all comes from something, right? So yeah. So why do we think? I'm pretty sure, at least this makes sense to me, that the brain developed to solve problems, and yeah, that's literally what the brain's for, to solve problems, in terms of like our survival. And the more complex our brain got, I guess we needed our brain to become more complex because the problems became more complex. So we're like continuous problem solvers in a way. And yeah, thinking is how we process and adapt to problems in reality. So, and usually like these problems in reality, like in the past, like we had to physically move to solve these problems. But now with through like technology and yeah, just the way like there's so many opportunities where like you can make a living just sitting at a desk or talking to a camera. Not that I make any money of this, but yeah, we can kind of we can just solve problems that aren't like yeah, so we can solve problems that aren't even how our brain used to how our brain used to function, like was just get to drive us to move to get away from like a certain danger or stressor. But now we can like survive off just thought alone, I guess, and talking. So it's kind of like almost created a disconnect from reality, because we've developed this whole musculature of our body to get away from like a dangerous predator, and now we don't even need that. So yeah, it's interesting. So our bodies are kind of decaying, but that's a different subject. So yeah, through physical movement, and yeah, we've created these loopholes that have no real world solution, which is pretty dangerous. Sorry, I'm just trying to get myself back on track. And yeah, people have like created these thoughts that aren't necessarily quantifiable, and I'm not saying that they aren't real, but the thought of like God, like you can say there is like a God. I think there must be something that created us. It's kind of logical. Everything has like a design to it if you boil it down. But yeah, the idea of God, I don't think we're actually meant to understand God. I mean, in the Bible it says like they ate from the tree of knowledge, and that was the greatest sin of all. Well, I don't know if it was the greatest sin of all, but it was like the original sin. So this is going a bit off, like this is another tangent, but potentially the pursuit of knowledge is to the detriment of oneself, potentially. And yeah, so God is not quantifiable. Our brain cannot like perceive a God. Our brain cannot see a God, and our brain like, yeah. I'm not saying there's no God. It's just not quantifiable at this stage. And then love is an interesting one. I mean, love is a word, and you have like emotions when you see certain people. But the actual like what actually love is not quantifiable, and it's the meaning differs from from person to person. So in that sense, it's not quantifiable. Like there's no set meaning of love. And this is kind of getting into general semantics. I'm also reading a book on that, which is pretty interesting. So it's kind of two subjects in one. The soul, and yeah, the soul is like another unquantifiable thing. You can, you can't really see people's souls, I don't think, not yet, if they do have souls. But yeah, I'm not saying these things don't exist. It's just like we have a word to describe them. Like, because I can't literally describe what these things are with my knowledge of the English language. Sorry, this is like pretty deep stuff, I guess, or maybe just rambling. But yeah, the soul is like this thing that people say we have, but we can't like measure it or see it. So it's not really based in our quantifiable reality. So it kind of creates these feedback loops in our brain, and then we just keep thinking about them. It's like, so it's good for the soul, it's good for the body, but we don't have a soul. So what does that actually mean? But we'll leave that for another day. And I guess and then we kind of almost form like these forms of psychosis because we're not living in the actual reality around us, and just lose track of reality, which is pretty scary when you think about it. Like, there's many things that contribute to this, like phones too. Like, everything on the phone's pretty much fake, and people just live their whole entire lives on the phone, but they don't even come out. Because I'm in nature at the moment. You might recognize this place from one of my past videos. Sorry, I can't really see the lens because I'm sitting in the sun. But yeah, it's a nice spot. But yeah, we create these things that aren't really quantifiable, and then just lose track of reality. And I'm pretty sure I've done this too. So I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone. I'm just kind of like processing reality as well, which is like a big red pill to swallow. But it's cool though. You gotta find out these things. So yeah, survival is the main driver for human behavior. But through modern technology and ease of living, it's thrown everything out of order. I mean, maybe we just have to adapt to the new world, because this new world is like, it's evolving so quickly, and like I don't know if our brains can keep up with it, because we have like these past behaviors and things we're used to, and we're also like, maybe we just have to get better at adapting to reality and move quicker. So yeah, that can affect our psyche as well. And so when our biological needs aren't met, like, we create these stresses, because actually I got to take a step back, sorry. This is all over the place, but I think I'm getting to a good point of like, so when we create a stressor in our mind of like, what if I've damaged my soul somehow, or what if God's not happy with me? And you can't really like actually solve that problem. It's like never solvable, because these things aren't quantifiable. And it, potentially can send us a bit mad. So I think it's good to base yourself in the reality, the perceivable reality, for the sake of for the sake of your sanity. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, because when we create a stress response, it was originally created to get away from like physical like predators and all that. So then we've somehow become able to create our own, create like that flight or fight response in our brain, and just just like at will, more or less, which is pretty scary as well. And there's a lot more ramifications to that as well, like in terms of our body and stuff too. And I'm pretty sure I've gone over a little bit of that in that para posture video. So yeah, I'll try not to go too much longer, but it's really important to think about these things, and just base yourself in reality. I mean, we've got it really, really easy compared to so easy compared to our predecessors. Like, I'm able to just sit in nature. I've got a car that takes me out here. I can just sit in the sun for a day and come home, eat some good food, like very high quality food, and yeah, like our predecessors like had to kill themselves for like wheat and potatoes and like living off bare bare bone stuff. So yeah, we don't know how good we've got it potentially, or maybe we do, when we're just that human condition of never being satisfied kicks in, which isn't a bad thing. I guess it uh, promotes improvements and whatnot. What's the word? Promotes progressive society. But yeah, just some interesting stuff to think about. I think it's interesting, and try and if you're struggling with this type of thing of like you like creating stresses in your mind, maybe just write down a list of these things that like things in reality you can solve, and then these extra like these things that are like unquantifiable, and maybe just try and like almost delete them from your mind if that's possible. Um, but yeah, this is almost like too philosophical. Maybe I'm not basing myself in reality by talking about this stuff, but food for thought. I'll leave it at that.